So today I just wanted to share a little bit of my personal journey with forgiveness, because I've been reading Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard, and so I think it's in chapter 7, and Persia is recounting her last life and some of her final lessons in forgiveness. And reading it, it actually brought tears to my eyes, and they were actually tears of happiness, because it made me kind of realize the events that have been happening to me in my life over the last few years, because they actually closely resemble the events of her life. And those events, which seemed quite traumatizing, actually led to, well, they were my biggest lessons in forgiveness. You know, I'm sure we've all read A Course in Miracles, and you know, you do the lessons, you practice forgiveness, and it can be easy to forgive the seemingly small things, but when something really seemingly catastrophic happens, it really tests your commitment, doesn't it? And so for me, my kind of final lessons in forgiveness were having somebody that I loved deeply betray me and falsely accuse me multiple times, which led to being arrested multiple times, and ultimately led to me going to jail. Only for 9 days, thankfully, but then I was released onto house arrest, and the house arrest, because I wasn't allowed home, house arrest was at another family member's house who I don't really know that well, so it was very, very awkward, and that was for 3 months. So yeah, three and a bit months essentially locked up, until the court case where it was all thankfully dismissed. But you do go through all of those things of like, how can somebody do this to me? How can somebody say these things about me? How can somebody, you know? And it's very confronting. And you do, obviously, when it initially happens, you do get that full hit of that emotion and that sense of betrayal and fear and anger and whatever else it might be. But it was during the time of being on house arrest that I really able to think and was really able to put what I was already practicing really into full practice. And I was able to really see that, and to realize that I had projected that experience myself from my own mind, and I projected that experience based on my own false accusations against myself. The sin that we all think that we've done, that we've all persecuted ourselves for, and we've all falsely accused ourselves of. And it's that perceived sin that we turned our back on God, and that we need to be punished for it because we're afraid that God's going to punish us. So we reflect that out into the world because we have this really deep guilt that we feel for turning our backs on God. So we project that guilt outwards into the world and into the experiences that we see, into our relationship partners, all of it. And we just see it reflected back. And, you know, I guess when you do really start putting forgiveness into practice, and you've been doing it for quite a while, you will get those. They're not really big, because there's what difference if it's all an illusion, which is what you do realize afterwards also, because there is really no such difference between, you know, forgiving something small or forgiving something that seems big, because it's all an illusion. It's all not real. But I think it can take something seemingly big, something that really seems to shatter your entire world and really kind of shatter your sense of being in this world. And it shocks you to your core. And it feels at the time like the worst possible thing that could ever happen to you. And for your ego, it kind of is the worst thing that could possibly happen to it, because it's kind of the end of the ego. Because if you can forgive something like that and really put everything that you've learnt into practice up until that point, then you are home free. You're on the home straight. And so what you're really feeling in that deep sense of despair and that deep sense of pain and hurt and betrayal, what you're really feeling is your ego's deep sense of despair and betrayal, because really, by learning to forgive that, it's kind of your final letting go. There obviously still will be, remnants that we'll need looking at from that point. So this was a year ago for me now, and whilst I'm sure I still have more guilt and more fear and more stuff to look at, that was kind of the thing that really, the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess, that really put me on the path of acceleration. And yeah, and that despair that you're feeling going through something like that is the ego's despair, because the ego knows its days are up, its days are numbered, and it desperately wants to cling on for dear life. So yeah, I don't know, I kind of just wanted to share my story, because in reading Persa's story in Disappearance of the Universe, which is a really, really amazing book. I can't believe that it's taken me this long to read it, because I've heard about it for years and years now and just never gotten around to reading it until the last couple of days. And wow, it's yeah, incredible book. But yeah, reading Persa's story in that book, it actually really helped me and really confirmed for me that I am 100% on the right track and on the right path. So I wanted to share my story, and hopefully you get the same thing out of it that I did, in reassuring you that you are also on the right path. Forgiveness can be very, very difficult. Don't get me wrong, it's simple, and all this, everything is simple in theory. All of it is super simple in theory, but in practice, especially with those really kind of core shaking experiences, it's difficult. And you're not just straight away, you're not gonna feel, whatever your experience is or will be, you're not straight away going to be like, yeah, this isn't really happening and the world's not real, I forgive, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not that easy at all. You are going to feel the betrayal, the hurt, the anger, whatever it is your experience has or will make you feel, you are going to feel it, and you are going to get deeply lost in it. But the amount of time is the question. And that amount of time for me after that experience was, I think, around 2 months, something like that. And, then you vacillate a bit, back and forth until eventually you completely release it and forgive it. And so I guess that's kind of what I wanted to say, is that forgiveness can be hard. It's not always going to be easy. And I think that's the point. But the beautiful thing is that once you do get those final forgiveness lessons and go through them, then it does get a lot easier. And that's kind of what life will give you, is it'll be whatever it is for you, your worst fear, life is going to give it to you. And how you respond to that is kind of going to determine everything that comes after that. So if you can forgive it and learn your forgiveness lesson, from there, things do get a hell of a lot easier, and the time that it takes to forgive minor or major things after that is less and less and less. And so yeah, like I said, that was about a year ago that happened for me. I've been still going through a lot of different stuff since then, which have all just been, more lessons in forgiveness. And it really does get a lot easier to forgive. And the time that it takes, it took me 2 months, maybe a bit over 2 months back then, a year ago for that. And there's been some other things as well, other experiences which have thrown me just recently, but the time it takes is a day or two now. And these are for big hurtful events, I don't want to get too personal, but finding out that your wife is with who you've just separated from is already with another guy, things like that, you know, and yeah, and now to be able to forgive something like that in a couple of days, and by forgive I mean realizing that there's nothing out there, that it's all coming from your own mind. So forgiveness is just the remembrance that everything is a projection of yourself. Forgiveness is not getting caught in the dream, in the illusion, realizing that it's all a projection of your own mind, that the other person is actually just reflecting back what you've hidden in your own unconscious in order for you to see it, forgive it, and release it, because there never was anything there to begin with. And we never actually did separate from our source. The sin that we're all running around running from the guilt, running from the fear, running from the shame and unworthiness, you know, the sin that we're all trying to hide from ourselves and pretend that never happened, never actually happened. So love has never left us, you know. It's just our own awareness that lost the awareness of love out of our own fear of it. And it's taken us who knows how many lifetimes and who knows how many thousands of years to remember. And I'm sure if you're watching this, then either you do remember or you're well on your way to remembering. So isn't that a beautiful thing? And does it really matter, like in a world that's an illusion, that's not really real, that's just a projection of our own mind? Does it really matter if we need to go through some tough love, I guess you could call it, in order to remember that? No. And I can honestly look back at that, which was one of the most difficult and painful experiences of my life, but I can also see it for one of the biggest blessings of my life, because it's brought the most forgiveness or the most growth, spiritual growth, because it's allowed me to release more of the stuff that I had hidden deeply in my unconscious. And when you release the hidden blocks in your unconscious, that just allows more love to come in, more of who you are to come in. And over time, that's all there is left. It's just the love, infinite, pure love that we are. I hope it helped, and until next time.